Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Tyler and I just do consistent content on all things relating hockey and the NHL overall. And yes, we're discussing 10 rookies today that you need to make sure that you are watching in this year's NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs / qualifying round, because obviously the likelihood of all these guys on this list today making playoffs isn't, because I have some guys that are, say, going up against each other in the qualifying round. But this list was not easy to make, and I want to make that clear. There were plenty of guys I unfortunately had to leave out because this rookie class this year was fantastic. There were a lot of great rookies in the league this year, some that were expected to be great and others that really came out of nowhere. So that's what I'll be breaking down for you today, these 10 rookies, and what really made the criteria for my list? Well, it incorporated with how they played during the season, obviously. Did they go above and beyond expectations, what were expected of them, or are they just that good overall? And the impact that they have on their roster, how crucial is that going into playoffs / the qualifying round? And just overall, there are certain players that I really don't see having a deep playoff run this year because of their team. So because of reasons like that as well, that is why I didn't incorporate certain players. So I just want to make that clear. But if you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe and like button if you like this kind of hockey content. I'm so close to 300 subscribers, so it would really be appreciated. And trust me when I say this is only the beginning of a lot of amazing and great things that happen on this channel, especially with playoffs right around the corner. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting off, we have one of the more surprising rookies of this past season, and that is Ilya Mikheyev. Ilya Mikheyev, if you don't know, is a 24-year-old Russian winger that came over from the KHL to the Toronto Maple Leafs this past year. I believe just signed a 2-year deal with them, and really was looking fantastic in his short stint with the team. In 39 games played, he had 8 goals, 15 assists for 23 total points, plus minus a +7. And he hasn't played, though, since December 27th because he unfortunately dealt with a lacerated wrist that he had in an injury against the New Jersey Devils. I was watching that game when it happened. It was really unfortunate because Soup, as they like to call him, was really looking fantastic and really a surprise. You know, Toronto for a couple years now has been signing some guys out of the KHL in Europe, especially on these smaller contracts, of course, to help them with their cap crunch. And Mikheyev, playing in their top 6, has really looked great. And from all the reports that I've seen in the Leafs practice leading up to their qualifying round thus far, it looks like Mikheyev could very well be in that top 6. So I really hope he is. He's a very well-balanced winner. You know, he's very strong in his own zone. I don't think he's one-dimensional by any means. And I just really like his overall game. I think he can really be an unsung hero for the Toronto Maple Leafs, given how stacked they are, and having a guy like Mikheyev in your top 6, top 9 can really provide that offense for you. And I'm very curious to see what he will do in his qualifying round, given how long he's been out with injury. But you also have to look at leading up to his injury, he had 4 goals in his past 6 games, so he was on quite the tear. So like I said, it's going to be very interesting to see what he does, but I'm really looking forward to it. Next up, we have the Latvian goaltender Elias Merzlikins. Elvis took the NHL by storm this year in his rookie year. Really wasn't expected to get much playing time at all, but given all the injuries that the Columbus Blue Jackets faced with their goaltending, with their starter at the time, Joonas Korpisalo, going down, Merzlikins comes up to the NHL, of course, and does lights out. There's no other way to put it. In 33 games played, the rookie phenom had 13 wins, 9 losses, 8 overtime losses, a goals allowed average of 2.35, and a save percentage of .923, including 5 shutouts, with a multiple shutout streak. I remember that when it was happening during the season, really blowing every team out of the water. He was just making some unreal saves and really looking like the next face of goaltending for the Columbus Blue Jackets, making Blue Jackets fans not miss so much the likes of Sergei Bobrovsky. But it's going to be very interesting to see. I believe he should be the starter come the qualifying round against the Toronto Maple Leafs, because Merzlikins has just looked fantastic. Nothing against Korpisalo personally, but Merzlikins was just on a tear, and he really just shocked the NHL this year. And I think this is only the beginning of a long and very strong career that Merzlikins is going to have. And yes, I know you can give the argument he does have a great defense in front of him. He does, but you still have to give him the credit for how well he's been playing. He's had some unreal games in his rookie year, just coming out of nowhere, truly. He was drafted, I believe, in the 3rd round back in 2013 or 14, and really just came out of nowhere this year. So I'm so happy for him. I think that if Columbus has any chance of beating the Toronto Maple Leafs, it is obviously going to be revolved around their defense and their goaltending. And if Merzlikins plays on his head like he has during the season, then you have to give Columbus a chance. Nothing against the Leafs at all. I think the Leafs do have the upper hand, of course, when it comes to offense, but there's no doubting how good Columbus's defense is, and the goaltending is just spectacular, led by none other than Elias Merzlikins. Next up, we have the former second overall pick, Kaapo Kakko. Now, I know you might be wondering, why do I have Kaapo on this list? He clearly didn't have a great season. That may be true, but there is a lot of factors into why he had his struggles. But starting off, Kaapo Kakko, of course, drafted second overall in the 2019 entry-level draft. In 66 games played for the Rangers this year, had 10 goals, 13 assists, and 23 points with a plus-minus of -26. He was statistically, analytically speaking, the worst rookie the NHL has seen in quite some time. And it's unfortunate, but I will just give him the benefit of the doubt here. What a lot of people seem to forget is that Kaapo, of course, being an 18-year-old, now 19-year-old Finnish forward, not having much experience at all in North America and just taking that next step already. And he's really impressed me in certain ways. He's unbelievably flashy, but you have to look at what has happened over the past year and a half for him. He, of course, leading up to his draft year, was playing in Finland for TPS Turku and Liga, and then after that, he was in 2 different tournaments. He was in the World Junior tournaments for Finland, and then he was in the World Championship tournament for Finland, both in 2019. He has basically been nonstop playing hockey, the hardest schedule he's ever had in his young career by far. And since having this long pause due to the ongoing pandemic, Kaapo coming back into the camp for the Rangers has really looked fantastic from all the reporters and from all the clips that I've seen. He really looks like he is electric at this point. He feels freshened up. He feels that he can really incorporate his game better than he has at all with the Rangers thus far in his young career, and I fully believe it. Rest is huge, especially with a guy like Kaapo who's transitioning into the NHL at such a young age. You have to look at how heavy of a schedule he's had before, which has led to his tired play at times, and the Rangers are aware of that. So having these months off has really done wonders for him, and I really think, especially if the Rangers do have a deep run, Kaapo is going to do things that he hasn't done all season long for them. He has shown flashes of brilliance at time with his overall offensive play, and while his defensive play isn't terrible, it is lacking, so that is something he's going to continue to work on, of course. But Kaapo one-on-one, especially in that offensive zone behind the net, it's so hard to get the puck off of him. Truly, he is a horse on the puck, and I really think that with him healing up, really being freshened up for this year's qualifying round, and assuming playoffs if they advance, Kaapo Kakko is going to make quite the splash. Next up, we have one of the most electrifying rookies in this past season, and that is none other than Kale McCree. Kale McCree, one of the best players for the Colorado Avalanche already, making Avalanche fans completely forget about the likes of Tyson Barrie, honestly. In 57 games played, he had 12 goals, 38 assists for 50 points, and a plus-minus of +12. And as we know, he is a Calder nominee, and rightfully so. He just had a fantastic rookie year, really helped Colorado get over the hump of dealing with all these injuries this past season and making them really a cup favorite by many. So the Avs, I perfectly expect them to have a pretty decent, if not deep run in this year's playoffs, and you have to expect Kale McCree to be a huge part of that. He was monster for them, like I said, 50 points, and would have had more if he didn't deal with injuries in his rookie year. And on the power play, leading that power play as a power play quarterback, and 5-on-5, he's just ridiculous from his skating to playmaking ability, his vision, his hockey IQ, and the fact that he can shoot the puck very well, pick those corners, whether it be from the blue line or, of course, if he's in the left or right dot, whatever it may be on that special teams especially. But overall, Kale McCree, an amazing young talent in the NHL, only 21 years old, and I fully expect him to do wonders for the Colorado Avalanche in this year's playoffs. Next up, we have arguably the most surprising rookie in this past year's season, and that is none other than Dominik Kubalk. Let me start off by saying I love Dominik Kubalk and his story. Originally drafted, I believe, back in 2014 in the 6th or 7th round by the LA Kings. Was staying in North America for a little bit, but just never cracked the roster. And really, he then went back to the Czech Republic, because that is where he's from, and played time between there and Switzerland in their men's leagues, of course, working on his game and really becoming a reliable player, especially playing in the Swiss league, He put up really strong numbers, which led him to signing a contract with the Chicago Blackhawks this past offseason. And in his rookie year, the 24-year-old winger has been amazing. In 68 games played, 30 goals, 16 assists for 46 overall points, and a plus-minus of +2. Really blew the Blackhawks and the NHL out of water, coming out of nowhere. A more seasoned rookie, if you will, with experience against men in Europe, of course, which definitely benefited him here as he continued to work on his game in Europe. And 30 goals in rookie season was just nuts. Whether he's 5-on-5 or on that power play, especially playing along the likes of Patty Kane, has really been tremendous and really is a huge part as to why the Blackhawks could make some noise in this year's playoffs. I personally think the Oilers will win that qualifying round, but if the Blackhawks do go anywhere, they're going to rely on more depth scoring, and Dominik Kubalk is going to lead the way for sure. He's a very well-balanced winger, not overly flashy, but can definitely put the puck behind the net in every which way. Truly, he's just a very strong overall player, really a glue guy that you can put him anywhere in the lineup, and he's going to contribute greatly for you. So Kubalk is one I'm very interested to see what he is going to do at the qualifying round, if not playoff level, for the Chicago Blackhawks. Next up, we have Canucks rookie phenom Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes, like Kale McCree, of course, and Dominik Kubalk, another Calder nominee, and in his rookie season for the Vancouver Canucks has just been absolutely lights out. In 68 games played, he had 8 goals, 45 assists for 53 points. He was the best rookie this season when it comes to points, and had the most points by a rookie as a defenseman for the first time since Brian Leetch back in his rookie year in the 1988-1989 season. Very impressive. Had a plus-minus of -10, and overall, the 20-year-old defenseman really took the NHL by storm this year, proving just how solid he is, not just as an overall defenseman, but in that offensive zone. He contributes in every which way. He can shoot the puck. He has elite playmaking ability already as a 20-year-old, and he's only going to continue to get better. The Vancouver Canucks are in a situation where they very well could have a possibly deep playoff run. They could make some noise, and a big part of that is because of Quinn Hughes. He's undoubtedly the best defenseman on that blue line already, in my opinion, and especially with the team in the qualifying round going up against the Minnesota Wild, looking like they will have a strong chance of winning that series, but nothing's given, of course. They do advance into playoffs, especially on special teams. Quinn Hughes, that power play quarterback, is going to lead the way along the likes of course, Elias Pettersson, Bo Horvat, JT Miller, Brock Besser. So many great weapons on that offense, and I fully expect Hughes to make quite the impact in this year's qualifying round, if not then playoffs. Next up, we have another somewhat surprising rookie to many, and that is none other than Denis Gurianov. Gurianov was a very interesting rookie this year. He has struggled to make it to the NHL level since being drafted a couple years ago, but this year he finally became an NHL mainstay for the Dallas Stars, providing offense that they desperately need. In 64 games played, he had 20 goals, 9 assists for 29 overall points, and had a plus-minus of +5. And he led the Stars in goal scoring this year, which is huge, and it says a lot about their offense. They have weapons there, but guys like, of course, Jamie Benn really hit his peak. I don't see him being the guy he ever once was. Tyler Seguin, who really can put up the points, but hasn't been as consistent as I personally would like to see him be. Joe Pavelski, who really hasn't had the impact that he has had in years prior with the San Jose Sharks. And Alexander Radulov. Just a lot of these guys that really didn't play up to par this season, but Denis Gurianov was quite the surprise. And while he isn't an amazing playmaker by any means, he can contribute on that offense. He knows how to shoot the puck, and he is definitely a guy the Stars can rely on, assuming they'll have a possible deep playoff run. They had the defense and the goaltending to do it without question, but who is going to step up big in the playoffs for them? And you have to look at guys like Gurianov to really step up in a more limited role. He averages between 13 to 15 minutes a night on average, so you can't expect necessarily too much from him, but the goal scoring is there for sure, whether it be 5-on-5 or special teams. You have to expect him to be quite the surprising guy for the Stars in that lineup to provide the offense if all else fails, especially. But if the Stars do go anywhere this year, they are going to need to rely on that depth offense that they so desperately need, and you have to look no further than Denis Gurianov to help lead the way. Next up, we have the oldest rookie on this list, and that is Pavel Francouz. Pavel is a 30-year-old rookie. It's bizarre, right? How is that? Well, he played obviously quite a bit in the KHL and then has been with the Colorado Avalanche organization. And this year, with the injury sustained to their starter, Philip Grubauer, Francouz comes up to the team and does lights out for them. In 34 games played, had 21 wins, 7 losses, and 4 overtime losses for a goals allowed average of 2.41 and a save percentage of 923, including 1 shutout. Those are remarkable numbers as a rookie, and yes, he definitely benefits from being in Europe, playing in the KHL for quite a while, having that experience against men, and you can see that in his rookie season for the Avalanche, and really brings a scenario where, in my opinion, I don't see why you don't take a chance with Francouz to be the starter, but I understand that Avalanche fans, for the most part, want to see Grubauer be the starter. You know, he has the experience. He's played in playoffs before, but I do know that Grubauer will for sure have a small leash if he is the starter, because you have a guy like Francouz who has performed all season long for them, and if safe Grubauer, not that I hope it happens, but say he gets hurt for whatever reason, or just blows it early in the series in the playoffs, Francouz is going to come right in and do a solid job for them. I really think this is going to be a very interesting story to watch in this year's playoffs, with not just the Avalanche, but with a lot of other teams with interesting goaltending situations. But Francouz, there's no denying the rookie season he had, and truly, I'm very curious to see what he will do at the playoff level, because I really think he can make quite the impact. Next up, we have the guy that I did my last video on, and that is, of course, Adam Fox. Foxy had an amazing rookie season for the New York Rangers, was their best overall defenseman, and one of the best defensemen in the NHL already. Statistically speaking, him along with the likes of Kale McCree and Quinn Hughes were already top 10 defensemen in the NHL this year, which says how impressive it is with these young defensemen coming in the NHL. But with Fox specifically, in 70 games played at 8 goals, 34 assists for 42 points, and he plus-minus a plus 22. That's unbelievably impressive given the fact that the Rangers were one of the bottom feeder teams and all the NHL this year when it came to team defense, so Fox was truly a bright spot in that rather gloomy looking defense for the Rangers. But Fox, whether it be 5-on-5 or special teams, has just been remarkable. Watching him closely as a Rangers fan especially, I can tell you I'm not seeing a guy this poised on the Rangers blue line in quite some time, and I think the future for him is unbelievably promising. If the Rangers do advance, not just past qualifying round, but have a decent playoff run, you have to look at Adam Fox to be a huge part as to why, because they do have holes on that defense as it is. Tony DeAngelo, a very strong defenseman, 53 points, but is definitely more offensively minded. They are going to need to bank on a guy like Fox already as a rookie to really do the best he possibly can for them. The 22-year-old has just been phenomenal in his rookie year for the Rangers, and I fully expect him to really open the eyes of a lot of people across the NHL as to just how good he is. And last but not least, we have another rookie phenom in Igor Shesterkin. Since Igor was drafted years ago, I have been watching as much clips as I have, looking up on his stats, just making sure I'm following him as much as humanly possible, because since he was drafted, the expectation was he is the heir apparent to Henrik Lundqvist. He is just that good, and he has proven that in his short stint in the NHL thus far. This season, since being called up from the Hartford Wolfpack of the AHL, Igor, in 12 games played, had 10 wins, 2 losses, a goals allowed average of 2.52, and a save percentage of 932. His track record going back to the KHL just shows that he very rarely loses, and yes, he has been on some very good teams in the KHL, but it just goes to show how amazing of a goaltender Igor is in his young career. The 24-year-old goaltender looks like he has a future so promising, so bright, and the Rangers are in a very interesting situation when it comes to their goaltending. Are they going to go with a guy like Henrik Lundqvist, Alexander Georgiev even, or Igor Shesterkin? I did a video on that too if you haven't checked that out, and you want to make sure you do after this. But overall, Igor is most likely going to be the starter because he won that starting job as soon as he came in the AHL, and he has not lost it. So all indication is that he will start, and if so, I feel very confident, especially going against Carolina Hurricanes, even with that stacked team as it is. But assuming they win that round and go into the playoffs, if the Rangers are going to go anywhere, it's going to be around their goaltending with the guys of Igor Shesterkin. And even if he is a starter, he won't necessarily have a long leash because of the other great goaltenders the Rangers have as backups. But it just goes to show that Igor is deserving of being the starter, honestly, from being the starter throughout the past year. So I understand if the Rangers are going to do that. I'm so excited to see what he will do in a playoff round playoff type atmosphere, if you will, in that qualifying round. So if the Rangers do go anywhere, expect Igor Shesterkin to lead the way. And trust me when I say this is only the beginning of an amazing future for not just the Rangers, but Igor Shesterkin as their #1 goaltender. But with all that being said, that's going to conclude this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I know I didn't incorporate many rookies, whether it be guys like Nick Suzuki, because I just don't see them getting past the Pens at all, like not even close. So I'm not sure how big of an impact he will have, but he was, of course, an honorable mention. John Marino for the Penguins, not that I don't think the Pens will have a deep run. I just don't believe that Marino is going to do necessarily anything overly flashy to make you want to watch him constantly. Just my personal opinion, because he's very solid in his own zone, but you can't expect too much offensive production. And then you have other guys, of course, whether it be Nick Robertson for the Toronto Maple Leafs, who hasn't played a game in the NHL yet, but looks like he could very well be playing in that top 9 for the Toronto Maple Leafs in their qualifying round. He's very interesting. Then you have Ilya Samsonov for the Washington Capitals, who very well could get playing time if Braden Holtby does not perform to his caliber in the playoffs. Holtby is for sure going to have a short leaf, and Samsonov has had a fantastic rookie year for the Capitals, and is, of course, their starting goaltender going forward, in my opinion. And Marty Necas, of course, for the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm a big fan of him, too. The Finnish winner really looks strong, had around 36 points, I believe, in his rookie year for the Carolina Hurricanes, and I didn't incorporate him just because of how tight this was, and I don't see him necessarily having as much an impact as other players on this list, as he is in a more limited role with a very stacked Carolina Hurricanes lineup, but he for sure can make some noise. But I just want to incorporate all those guys for you because they are honorable mentions for sure. But let me know in the comments below if you agree with my list, or if you don't, let me know, and let me know what rookie you think is going to stand out the most and the guy we should be watching the most in this year's qualifying round / playoffs. And if you haven't checked out my previous videos, make sure you do. I'll have them right down here below for you. But thank you all again, guys. I really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that subscribe and like button, like I said, if you like this kind of hockey content. And without further ado, I'll see you guys in a day or two.